Hello everybody, it's Sylvie. Welcome back to Tarot Magpie. I hope you're doing good. Today I'm doing my response to the decks discovered through others tag. So I think it was Robin at Toadstool Tarot who came up with this, maybe. Or maybe I've just seen him do it, but I know that I first saw this on Angel's channel, Feeding My Soul. So I've seen this going around. I think this is fun. Because of course, being on TarotTube, a lot of the deck recommendations and purchases that I make come from TarotTube, come from watching other people show decks off and show how they use them in their videos. And a lot of my decks are inspired by TarotTube, is my point. So I've got here 10, I think. These are decks that the final push to buy these decks was by a specific tarot tuber, because like I say, a lot of the decks that end up in my collection I have first seen on TarotTube, but these are the ones where there was a specific person who, talking about these decks, made me make the purchase. So I won't say made me make the purchase, nobody made me do anything, but you know what I mean. There was a specific person who inspired me to pull the trigger on getting each of these decks, and I am going to get more or less straight into it because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So let's go. All right, so this is in no particular order. This one is the Dinosaur de Marseille. This is a Marseille deck. This is an indie deck. The lid is stuck. Okay, there we go. This is an indie Marseille deck by a UK-based creator. These are the fabulous backs, and this is a Marseille deck. And as you can see, it's a Dinosaur Marseille deck. This is so cool. And this was a Kelly Bear inspired purchase. It was through her video. I think she did a video on, I think it was called something like So You Think Marseille Decks Are Ugly. And it was basically the fun, pretty Marseille decks that she's got or that she recommends. And this was on there, and I just thought this was so cool. So I love me a dinosaur. I come from like an archaeology background, which is not dinosaurs, that's paleontology. But I love me an old, buried, excavated skeleton, you know? So I love this. I think it's so fun. And it sticks to the Marseille traditions really well. And so it's a fun deck to learn on. I got the squid cake first, and then I decided to get this, which has a little bit more of a traditional illustration style, although obviously the dinosaurs are not so traditional. And it's fun, it's cute. And this was one that I found through Kelly Bear, and I don't think I've seen anybody else really show it off. Like, how gorgeous is this? The colours are just so beautiful. Yeah, I don't think I've seen this on anybody else's channel, I don't think so. I feel like it needs more love. And that is the Dinosaur de Marseille. This is the Russian Tarot of St. Petersburg. And this is a mass market. This is also, as far as I'm aware, this is also, oh, the tower on top, we love that. This is also still in print, as far as I'm aware. It's mass market, and this was, why am I trying to do this from memory? Second thoughts about the mission. I think it was in one of her videos, and the way she showed it off and the way she talked about it really kind of tipped me over into wanting this. It's a lovely Rider-Waite-Smith, I don't know if I'd say clone, technically speaking, but it very closely follows the Rider-Waite-Smith scenes. But obviously in this Russian styling, we've got the gorgeous borders, which are like those, is it Fabergé eggs? It's beautiful. The colours are really vibrant. I love the black background. It's a very like cozy deck. I spoke about this one recently in my season between seasons, like it's winter but I'm kind of sick of it being winter kind of vibe. I did a video about the decks I'm using in this new year where it's very much still winter, but I want it to not be, and this is that kind of like comfy, cozy, wanting to hunker down in front of a fire. I don't know, it has that vibe to me. It's the beautiful colours and the black backgrounds, but yeah, this is really beautiful. And I'm very glad to have it in my collection. And thank you to, I'm 90% sure it was Second Thoughts About the Mission, where I saw this deck. I will obviously link everybody and their channels below, so you can go check people out if they are new channels to you. You can also take this as a recommendation video of some channels that I really like. The Raincoast Tarot. This is a print-on-demand make playing cards deck. And I'm actually in two minds about whether I'm going to hold on to this, because I love the Pentacles and the Cup suits, but then the Swords and the Wand suits are a little bit, I don't know, they're just like a little bit lacking compared to the, like, the chaos. Chaos in a good way, like the very detailed, surreal imagery with like these little upside down details and all sorts going on. They're almost, and then like the Swords and the Wands are just a bit one note in comparison, which I think is a bit of a shame. But anyhow, this was Candy at Candy Soul and Soil. I first saw this on her channel and I kind of couldn't stop thinking about it. And I know she's shown it a couple of times. I feel like, does Candy have a pocket edition? Have I invented that in my mind? I'm not sure, but I just think it's really, really cool. And anyway, yeah, so when I placed my first make playing cards order, I snuck this one in there. I say snuck this one in there. I added it to my basket and I paid for it. Because make playing cards is, the shipping is not very friendly. So I like to kind of save up and order 2 or 3 decks at a time, because it makes the shipping feel a bit more reasonable when you're kind of splitting that across 3 decks. So anyhow, this is really, really cool, and I just need to figure out how I feel about it. But yeah, that is the Raincoast Tarot. All right, this is Zeke's Arcana, and this wouldn't be in this video because I don't know where I first saw it or who I first saw it. I might have actually first seen this. Look at those edges. I think I saw this not on TarotTube when I first came across it, and this is actually kind of tarot Instagram made me do it. So this has been on my radar for, I don't know, ages it feels like, and it's been one that I've always said I want to get. And then Marine at Waves of Your Soul posted on Instagram when the creator announced that they were going to stop selling decks and were having a bit of a, it was over the Black Friday period. They were having a sale to kind of clear out their stock, and then they were going to stop selling them. So it is thanks to Marine that I have this deck physically in my hands, because if it wasn't for that post and if it wasn't for the Black Friday discount, I probably wouldn't have bought this when I did. It was one that I always knew I wanted, because this aesthetic, this like colourful rainbow kind of surreal sci-fi kind of alien vibes, and like this, somebody said on a video that it has like grown-up magical girl vibes, and I couldn't agree more. The colour palette, I love it. I was always going to have this deck. This is such a Sylvie deck aesthetically, but if it wasn't for Marine, I probably wouldn't have bought this when I did. So it is very much thanks to her that this is in my collection, and that I got lucky in being able to get a copy of this before she stopped selling them, because I imagine it's going to be, as with all out of print decks, a lot more difficult to find. But yeah, it's beautiful. It's really cool. This is Zeke's Arcana. All right, I've got a few more make playing cards decks. This one is the Naturescapes Tarot, which is a photography deck. I believe these are all like public domain stock photos of landscapes tied to the 78, the tarot. It's a tarot, it's a photography tarot deck. I don't know why I was trying to make that complicated. And I've had my eye on this for a while. I was hesitant because I wasn't sure how I felt about photography decks, but the fact that this has no people in, it's just landscapes and mountains and skies and trees and nature, I kind of got over that. This Queen of Swords is beautiful. Queen of Swords is my Libra significator. I love a skyscape. I love a good cloud. I love pink. It's perfect. Anyhow, it was, so I was kind of on the fence about this for a while. Like I was interested, but I wasn't sure if I would get on with the photography style. And the person who influenced me to actually get this was Laura at Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books. This is one of their favorite decks, I believe. Maybe I'm making that up, but I know that that Laura really likes this one. So, and I think, I don't remember what video it was. I don't know if it was a favorite decks or a naturey decks or what, but yeah, it was Laura who influenced me. And like I say, this was a make playing cards order. So it was when I wanted to place an order for something else, I think. And I decided that it was the time to pull the trigger on this one and see if I get on with it. And I really do love it. So this was a success. Right, this feels a little bit like cheating because this is the Hellenic Oracle. This is by Thea, Garden Goddess Tarot. So like decks discovered through others, yes, because she made this deck. So of course I discovered it through her and her YouTube channel. But I feel like it counts. I feel like most of my print on demand make playing cards decks are ones that I have found on TarotTube and that I've kind of been encouraged to buy by the way that other people talk about them, because the search function on make playing cards is atrocious. It's absolutely awful. It's really difficult to find decks through the website, so I tend to just rely on people talking about things on TarotTube. But yeah, this is an oracle deck. This is a Greek mythology oracle deck. It's got different deities and I think like people and places and bits of Greek myth with the Greek and the, I called it a transliteration last time. I'm still not sure if that's technically the correct term, but the word that we're used to in English. So when I spoke about this in my oracle deck collection, I mentioned that I've actually not really worked with this very much, and that is unfortunately still true because that was only a couple of weeks ago and I've been a busy person since then. But when I do have the time and the inclination to dive into some Greek myth, I think I'm gonna really enjoy working with this. It's nice to have something. I'm like this with a lot of things that I study where I'm like, oh, the amount of stuff to look at is a little bit overwhelming because there's so much of it and there's so many things I'm interested in and that I want to dive into. And so it's nice to have like an oracle deck where I can essentially at random pick a figure, pick a god, what have you, and then that's a starting point. And so it kind of gets me over that barrier of trying to decide what to start with, because I just draw a card, I let the cards decide, let the fates decide, and go from there. But yeah, this is, obviously it's an artwork deck. These are all, do you know what? I don't know enough about artwork to tell you what these are all from. I know that some of them are paintings of the gods that the card is, and some of them are just relevant imagery. But yeah, it's gorgeous. Garden Goddess Tarot made me do it because it is literally her deck. Let us not judge. This was my first crochet project, right? And I did get the size wrong, so it's entirely too big for the deck, and I might choose a different deck to put in here, or I might just frog it back and redo it from scratch. But like, it's not bad and the yarn is really pretty. Anyway, I think this is the last make playing cards deck I've got, and again this feels a little bit like cheating. So this is the Crow's Magic Tarot, which actually I think, do I know her channel name? Do I know anything? Astral Lady Tarot, my god. So I've wanted this for ages, and I think it might actually be her channel that encouraged me to put this on my wish list. But this is a replica copy of the deck, which I only knew existed because she posted a video about it. So this was my first make playing cards order because this was only up for a limited time. So this is a deck that was on my list as like a unicorn deck, the original printing. But then when I found out via Astral Lady Tarot that there was a replica on make playing cards, I moved extremely fast and I got myself a copy. So this is just an incredibly cool weird deck. And I say weird with a lot of love. I think you could tell from the Zeke's Arcana, like I quite like I'm a sci-fi fantasy kind of person in my reading tastes and in my general media consumption. I like a weird deck, and I like the kind of the aesthetic of this, the styling, the something about it is very much kind of 2000s word art in a lot of ways, which I really enjoy. And then this also has the astrological symbols, which I think correlate with the decans that I'm familiar with and the associations I'm familiar with. I feel like I heard somebody say that the astrological associations are different, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But you've got symbols, you've got keywords, which are fun, and the energy of this is just very interesting. It's very cool. It's kind of pippish, it's kind of animal-y. The keywords are really interesting because they're either really consistent with what I already associate with the tarot, or they're kind of a little bit all over the place. Not all over the place, but like they're either very consistent or they're not, basically. Which is like shy and timid is not what I'd usually associate with the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is, the eights in general feel a bit like a mini 10 almost to me. They're kind of like a completion of something, an achievement of something, or like a turning point in a way. And like shy and timid is not what I would put with the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is usually more about like change and, you know, moving on from things. But anyway, it's a really fun deck. All right, this technically maybe isn't TarotTube made me do it, and maybe is Tarot General Internet made me do it. So this is the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. This is a Llewellyn mass market. It's still available. It's by Maggie Stiefvater, and it is based on and ties into her Raven Cycle book series. And I've wanted this since I first read the Raven Cycle books years ago and found out that this deck also existed. And for whatever reason, I just never quite picked it up. And then it was Cody at Tarot Readings from a Bitch who spoke about this deck and encouraged me to actually purchase it. And I think it was her blog post about this deck rather than any video in particular. So it kind of, again, feels a bit like cheating. It's not so much TarotTube made me do it as Tarot Internet made me do it, but she has a YouTube channel, so I feel like it counts. Like, I adore this Two of Cups. This is just such a beautiful deck, and I love the series so much, and this is a deck that I'm really glad that I have. I think I was initially a little bit hesitant because I wasn't sure how well it would read, because either it would be too tarot to feel related to the books, or it would feel too Raven Cycle to read as a tarot. Like, do you know what I mean? I was just worried that it wouldn't mesh the two things too closely. And tarot crops up in the book series. It's not like it's a fantasy book series with tarot as a fairly significant thing that happens in the books. So there was no reason for me to be worried about it, but you know, I try to think through my purchases. But anyway, it's fantastic. I'm very glad I have it. I'm very glad that Cody spoke about it with as much enthusiasm as she did and encouraged me to buy it. Okay, Grimalkin's Curious Cats Tarot by MJ Cullinane. This is the Hay House publication. And I am a giant MJ Cullinane fan, which if you saw my collection videos, if you've seen almost any other video that I've made, you'll gather this. But this was actually only the second MJ Cullinane deck that I bought, and I got this when it came out in, I think it was April maybe last year, that the mass market publication was released. And at that point I only had the Guardian of the Night Tarot, and I was not yet quite tipped into being a massive fan of her decks. Like, I liked the one that I had. I was interested in other of her decks, but I wasn't as much of a fan as I am now, basically. Anyway, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get this. I think I initially decided against it because the handful of cards that were in the promotional pictures on like the Hay House website and Amazon, they were just not very convincing to me. And like, having gone through the whole deck, they're actually some of my least favorite cards in the deck. And so I bought this after I saw Mystic Man's walkthrough. I think she did a walkthrough of this as soon as it was released, pretty much. And I watched her video. I immediately ordered this deck. And I haven't looked back. It's just so fun and pretty and playful. I love all the flowers. I love the colour palette in this deck. And I love the guidebook. And it was the experience reading with this and reading with the guidebook. And this being my second MJ Cullinane deck. And so I had two. I had the Guardian of the Night. I had this one. I was like, I love the cards. I love the way they read. I really, really love her guidebooks. And I was convinced. There are truly so many noisy vehicles outside today. I think this was one that was in the promo pictures, and like, I don't love this image. I don't know, something about it feels kind of clunky. And this also, I think, is one that I didn't love, and it feels kind of clunky. But then like, this is totally beautiful. Like, that's absolutely gorgeous. Anyhow, this is a gorgeous cat deck. I can't wait to start using this again in the spring because it's got all the like blossoms. It's a very springy deck. I love this High Priestess. We've got the crescent, we've got the veil. It's beautiful. This is the Grimalkin's Curious Cats Tarot. All right, and finally, this is the Tarot of Vampires. This is by Llewellyn. This is the Ian Daniels one. I know they've got another vampire deck out. I have no intention of buying that. And it was Racine at Owl Moon something. Yeah, it was Racine who, she talks about this deck all the time. She loves it. And the way she talks about it is what made me want to buy this. I've fallen in love with this deck as well, so I totally get it. And I've spoken about this a few times, and I've said that like the art style, I was initially, when I was buying decks and I wanted to feel like which I think probably we all do, we buy decks or we're attracted to decks that kind of match our aesthetic, or that the art style is something that we are drawn to as art pieces. And you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I still do that. I love to have decks that I would hang up as artwork in my home if I could. And this, I think the artwork is really cool, is really talented, but it's not what I would hang up in my house. So when I first saw this deck years ago, I was like, it's cool, but it's not for me. And then, yeah, Racine just raves about this deck. And the guidebook is fantastic. And that was another reason that I was drawn to this one, is because she said that this deck is worth buying for the guidebook alone, which I haven't read the guidebook cover to cover, but the amount of detail and thought and intention that has gone into this deck is reflected in the guidebook. And I think it's a really valuable kit. A lot of these Llewellyn big box decks, or like other deck kits, they come with a big guidebook, but the guidebook is kind of not like, it's like style over substance. That is not the case with this. Like, the guidebook's brilliant. I personally really love the deck. As I'm getting more into, or as I have been getting more into astrology and combining that with tarot, I really appreciated having like the zodiac and the planetary symbols in the cards. And yeah, it's gorgeous. I love the styling. I've also come to really appreciate the fact that, like I said, when I started buying decks, I wanted decks that had artwork that I was particularly drawn to. And now that I'm a bit more familiar with the system of tarot, I think I have the kind of mental space to appreciate the art style of a deck for what it is, because I'm not so concerned with trying to figure out what the cards mean, because I already have like a bank of tarot card meanings in my head, so I can already access that. I know what the Rider-Waite-Smith looks like, I know what the Rider-Waite-Smith equivalent means, and I can dive into the imagery that is being presented to me. So even if the imagery doesn't match up with what I'm familiar with or what I would choose, I can really appreciate the world that has been created in a deck for its own sake. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, that is it. That is 10 decks that TarotTube made me buy, decks discovered through others. There's definitely more in my collection, and there's definitely a whole lot more on my wish list that are decks that I have been influenced to add to my wish list by fellow YouTubers. This is a really fun tag. I've seen several other people, and I also really enjoy how it's kind of a reflection of the channels that you watch. So like I say, everyone's going to be linked in the description. If there's channels you're not familiar with, I urge you to check them out. And that is it from me. So thank you so much for watching and for spending some time with me. If you've made it this far, I hope you have enjoyed. Give me a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.